In Salford, they're trialling a long COVID new app. Kelly Foran met up with one of the first people to use it.
This, busy hospital wards, an image we're used to seeing when we talk about COVID. But for Sarah, it's in her everyday life. She manages the Opera House in Manchester and is still suffering with long COVID, as are 1.1 million others. They'd fill out this theatre every night for nearly 2 years.
I've suffered throughout the last 18 months with constant pains in my head, pins and needles in my arms and legs the majority of the time, and as people say, you know, the brain fog situation.
Yeah, so you've had some tough days, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, some days have been worse than others. There's been occasions where the joint pain, particularly in my knees, like you couldn't actually get up off the sofa.
How is having this app, do you think, going to help you going forward?
I like it because obviously you don't have to go for an appointment. You don't have to go to the doctors or anything like that. You can just do it wherever you are. So obviously for me, I did it at work.
What's the process? What have you had to do so far?
So far I've filled in a survey which literally asks you lots and lots of questions about how you've been suffering, what your symptoms are and things like that, and you have to score it on a 1 to 10 basis. You then, someone rings you to just go through all of your answers, and then that will get reviewed by a medical board.
And you've got a busy job here at the Opera House and at the Palace as well. How are you feeling about things going forward?
I mean, I absolutely love my job, and I've done it for such a long time that, you know, the excitement that comes with working in theatre, it helps you overcome the pain and the symptoms that you're actually suffering, because it's quite medicinal in a way. Yeah. So it gets you out of your house, it gets you out of home, and takes your mind off things for a while.
Yeah, oh, good for you. It does sound like the dream job. I hope you feel fully better soon.
Thank you.
Kelly Foran, BBC North West Tonight.
Well, let's get a bit more on this now. I've been talking to one of the team who developed that long COVID app, Professor Nawar Barkley, a respiratory consultant at Salford Royal Hospital. I asked him earlier how the app would help.
One of the advantages, perhaps, maybe that we can communicate out to the public in relation to the benefits of the app is the ability of the individual to track their own symptoms, because when they input the symptom data within the app, they input that on a regular basis, so they'll be able to look at whether some of the symptoms, whether it was fatigue, tiredness, breathlessness, anxiety, improve or worsen if that's the case in some cases. I think one of the other things that we're quite excited about is that the app will allow data to also upload into the NHS database, and it'll allow to provide comparison in between different populations of patients who suffer from COVID, which would be extremely useful to understand the condition a little bit more.
And why is it that some people that get COVID will go on to suffer from long COVID and others won't?
I think that's a really interesting question. The straightforward and honest answer to that is, at the moment, we don't really fully understand this. I think the good news is that we're seeing a lot of research that is emerging and has emerged over the last few months to help us better understand this condition. We know, for example, roughly the average number of patients that we expect to suffer from long COVID within a population. We also know some of the risk factors, some of the treatments or some of the interventions, shall I say, more accurately, that could help reduce the risk of long COVID. So, for example, yesterday we've heard very, very good news in relation to how vaccines could reduce the risk of long COVID in those who are vaccinated. So we're learning a little bit more about why these variations exist in the incidence of long COVID in different people.
How big a strain is it putting on health services already?
I think it's fair to say there has been a recent announcement, which we're really very excited about, which is the announcement of funding into long COVID services. And we are obviously doing our very best to try and utilise these good monies into good services and develop the services across the country to help people who suffer from long COVID.
And also, I suppose one of the things that I think people necessarily won't know is whether they've got long COVID or not.
That's a really, really good question. I think first of all, the long COVID happened in those who suffered from COVID. So obviously, if a patient suffered from COVID, they really need to be aware of the fact that there is a condition that's called long COVID. So I think that's the first thing to be aware of. The second thing is to discuss with your clinician if you've got any concerns about any of the symptoms that you may have acquired during COVID infection, but they continued and persisted afterwards. So that's also very, very important. We have to appreciate it is a condition that could be life-changing, and we need to make sure that people are aware it exists and at the same time aware that help is out there to be given to them if they suffer from this condition.
Right. Professor Bakley, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.